helping boards catch the vision for better governance. Co-authors Dan Busby and John Pearson have written an engaging and powerful training tool, Lessons from the Church Boardroom, 40 Insights for Exceptional Governance. Join prolific authors and bloggers Dan and John as they share their expertise from several of the lessons. Our prayer is that this video will inspire your board and help you accomplish an even greater vision for good governance.
Dan, you've served on a number of different church boards and other nonprofit boards across your career. What type of ministry boards, in your experience, can't resist the temptation to dive headfirst into the operational weeds?
Well, John, church boards tend to have the greatest propensity to go into the weeds, stay in the weeds, and love living in the weeds. The reason they regularly get into operational minutia is because of two reasons. First, church boards almost always meet monthly, and number two, there are often not enough substantive agenda items to justify a monthly board meeting. In this scenario, it is the rare church board that can avoid going into operational weeds. Outside of the church world, nonprofit organizations tend to adjust their meeting frequency to match their need to have a board meeting. Think of that.
What a concept.
Of course, even with a board that meets only twice a year, there can be a board member or two that wants to go operational. So John, let me toss this dilemma to you. When board members detour into operations, what happens?
Thanks a lot, Dan. Give me the hard stuff here. As we've discussed, there's probably three things that often occur. First, decision-making boundaries are crossed. A church board crosses a red line when addressing topics that should be handled by the senior pastor. Secondly, time is squandered. Meddling in operations wastes the collective time of the board. Consider the hourly rate of your board members. Multiply the combined hourly rate by the time wasted in board meetings discussing operational issues. The resulting number can be astounding. Third, frustration results. While going into the operational weeds will frustrate some board members, it is almost guaranteed to frustrate the senior pastor. Dan, that's the problem, but in your mind, what are some of the solutions to this operational meddling disease?
Well, John, two solutions do come to mind. Number one, empower the board chair to address operational overreach. So this can happen in a couple of ways. First, in setting the agenda. If the agenda avoids operational areas, the proper tone will be set for board discussions. And also, monitoring board discussions. The board chair must monitor the urge of board members to delve into operational matters and gently guide the discussion back to policy matters. And then second, inspire board members to speak up when the board veers into operational matters. While the board chair should be the first line of defense, any board member can alert the chair to the possibility that the board has crossed into operations, and that will be music to the senior pastor's ears. John, you once told me you've endured 500 board meetings over the years. Wow, what best practices have you observed for how boards assess whether or not they are running afoul with operational meddling?
I've seen that the really great boards take time to review the discussions and actions of the last few board meetings. Many of them invest 5 minutes at the end of every board meeting asking one member to give the board a grade. That member has listened intently during the board meeting. Some boards use the 5-finger evaluation drill. The chair would say, okay, how do you think our board did on a scale of 1 to 5? And everybody goes around the room and just quickly says, I think this was a 4. I thought this was a 2 because we got into the weeds. Another excellent drill is to say, evaluate your engagement in this board meeting. Was it a 1 or a 5? And just this 5-finger feedback is really helpful. If it's determined that the board is crossing the line into operational matters, great boards will discern who or what is causing this encroachment. Are the agendas properly designed? Or are certain board members the guilty parties? We know that this is not easy, but board governance is not easy. Every meeting, though, we must honor God in the boardroom, and this too is part of our sacred calling.